Japanese people. I have a samurai tattoo on my back. I have always loved Japan. In the past, I was excited to work with Honda, and now it's the same thing. Let's see if it works better this time, he said, referring to the McLaren-Honda stint that didn't go well. The two-time world champion has also talked about his renewal with Aston Martin.
Max Verstappen, against all odds and expectations, clinched victory in a race that showcased why he's a four-time world champion. This wasn't just any win. This was Verstappen's first victory of the 2025 season, his fourth consecutive triumph at the challenging Suzuka circuit, and perhaps most remarkably, achieved without having the fastest car on the grid. Everything started with Saturday's qualifying session. Verstappen delivered what can only be described as an exceptional qualifying lap. The Dutchman squeezed every millisecond out of his Red Bull, beating Lando Norris by the tiniest of margins, just 1/100th of a second. This performance was described by many as a lap for the ages, and it proved to be the foundation for Sunday's victory. Verstappen himself acknowledged this crucial factor after the race. The weekend started off quite tough, but we didn't give up. Starting on pole made it possible to win this race. This pole position came as a shock to many observers. Red Bull has struggled throughout the early part of the 2025 season, with Verstappen only managing second in Australia and fourth in China. The RB21 has been notoriously difficult to drive, plagued by balance issues and what was described as a capricious nature of snapping through understeer and oversteer. Yet somehow, when it mattered most, Verstappen delivered a perfect lap on a circuit that demands absolute precision and confidence in your machinery. Sunday morning brought damp but drying track conditions at Suzuka. The overnight rain had at least solved one problem, preventing a repeat of the grass fires that had disrupted practice and qualifying sessions earlier in the weekend. As the 5 lights went out, Verstappen made a textbook start, holding his position into the first corner against the McLaren duo. This was critical. McLaren had feared that if Verstappen maintained the lead at the start, overtaking would be extremely difficult on this circuit. The early laps weren't without challenges. Verstappen reported that his upshifts were really bad in the Red Bull around lap 5. However, the issues improved, and he managed to build a small gap to Norris, stretching his lead to about 2 seconds. What's remarkable is how Verstappen managed to keep the faster McLarens at bay. Despite having what was widely considered a less competitive package, the Dutchman's driving was flawless. He maintained perfect control of the pace, managing the gap to ensure the McLarens couldn't get close enough to attempt an overtake. The race's defining moment came during the pit stop phase. McLaren had attempted a strategic ploy, radioing Norris for a dummy stop 2 laps earlier in an effort to trick Red Bull. On lap 22, both Verstappen and Norris pitted together. What happened next became the race's most dramatic moment. Red Bull's stop was slower than McLaren's by a full second, 3.3 seconds versus 2.3 seconds. And as they both exited the pits, they found themselves nearly side by side. Norris tried to pull alongside Verstappen, but the Dutchman held his line. With space running out, Norris was forced onto the grass at the pit exit. The McLaren driver immediately radioed his team, claiming Verstappen had forced me off. Verstappen countered that Norris had drove into the grass himself. The stewards quickly noted the incident, but decided no investigation was necessary. Analysis of the regulations revealed that Verstappen had priority in the pit lane as he was already in the fast lane and had every right to maintain his position as they exited. After the race, Norris had cooled down and admitted, "It's just racing, he was still ahead. It kind of squeezes into one, and Max is the last guy I expect to give me any space, in a good way, a racing way." The two even joked about it in the post-race press conference, with Verstappen saying, "The grass was not really well cut on the right-hand side. Lando saw that as well and made sure it was nicely cut."
View of what happened there?
Yeah, I think the grass was it was not really well cut on the right-hand side. So I think that, Lando saw that as well, and he made sure that it was nicely cut.
With both drivers now on identical hard tires, the stage was set for a tense battle to the finish. Red Bull team principal Christian Horner described Verstappen's performance as inch perfect, and it truly was. For the remaining 30-plus laps, Verstappen maintained incredible focus and precision. Whenever Norris would push to close within a second, which would have given him DRS advantage, Verstappen responded perfectly, managing his pace and tires with extraordinary skill. The gap between them fluctuated between 1 and 2.5 seconds throughout this stint, with Piastri also staying close in the second McLaren. This created a fascinating three-way battle, with the leaders line astern in a sustained fight to the flag. What makes this even more impressive is the challenge of driving a car that had been problematic all season. Verstappen somehow found a sweet spot in the Red Bull's setup, allowing him to match the pace of the McLarens despite their acknowledged speed advantage. The tension reached its peak in the final 10 laps of the race. Piastri was rapidly closing in on his teammate Norris, and even radioed his team with the confident message saying, "I think I have the pace to get Max." This internal McLaren pressure prompted Norris to pick up his own pace, and he began cutting into Verstappen's lead. Meanwhile, Verstappen remained composed under mounting pressure. With 5 laps remaining, the gap was down to just 1.3 seconds, with Piastri at times less than half a second behind Norris. The three leaders were covered by just over 2 seconds in a nail-biting finale. Verstappen never cracked. He crossed the line 1.4 seconds ahead of Norris, who had a messy moment across the final chicane on the last lap, but managed to keep second place ahead of Piastri. The top three finished within 2.2 seconds of each other after 53 intense laps, which shows the relentless pressure Verstappen had withstood throughout the race. This victory has major implications for the championship battle. Verstappen is now just 1 point behind Norris in the Drivers' Championship, 61 points to 62, with Piastri in third on 49 points. Prior to the Japanese Grand Prix, many had started to write off Verstappen's chances of securing a 5th consecutive world title. Red Bull's early season struggles had made this seem like a pipe dream after the opening races in Australia and China. Yet this win gives Red Bull fresh optimism. It was a pointed reminder that the Dutchman will not go quietly into the night. For McLaren, this race represents a missed opportunity. Despite having the faster car, they couldn't convert their advantage into victory. Team principal Andrea Stella defended their strategy decisions, but admitted the race was mostly decided yesterday in qualifying. Adding an emotional dimension to this victory is its significance as Red Bull's final race with Honda at the Japanese Grand Prix, with the partnership ending after this season. Verstappen revealed this was on his mind during those tense final laps. He said, "It was in the back of my mind as well in those last few laps. I was like, I need to try and stay ahead. It would be a great story for our final farewell race together with Honda here in Japan. I'm incredibly proud of what we have achieved over all those years together, and I think this is a perfect send-off." What sets this victory apart is how Verstappen won despite not having the clearly fastest car. McLaren had a clear pace advantage, as they have all season.